This meeting is being recorded.
This meeting's being recorded. Hare Krishna. So can anyone remember where we left off last week? I mean, the context, I was just looking now. It's quite an interesting part of the Brihat Bhagavatamrita. I give you a clue if you want. Shalagram Shila worship.
Yeah, isn't Gopal Kumar like telling his story from the beginning?
Yeah.
Where he met the Brahmana and then the king, and he's just telling.
Yeah, and we got a bit further where he started to recall his own personal story. He told he could say an amusing story where he came across a Brahmana who was worshipping the Lord in the form of Shalagram Shila.
Yeah.
And to his horror and shock, he saw that he put the Lord in a box, even without doing any elaborate offering of boga, etc., etc. So the Brahmana is very humble, and he explained his situation. What can I do? But to satisfy your heart, you should go to the see the king. And he's a great pious devotee, a wonderful devotee, and he's worshipping great opulence. So that's where Gopal Kumar went. He went to the kingdom, and he saw the wonderful worship, and his heart became very much attracted. And he made a vow to stay there all the while, still chanting his mantra, still chanting the Gopal mantra in the private. We chant the mantra. Then the king became very much very much impressed with the qualities of Gopal Kumar because he was sonless, as far as I remember. Then he adopted Gopal Kumar as his son. And it wasn't long after that the king passed away, and he left the kingdom to Gopal Kumar. So now Gopal Kumar was the king, child of the whole kingdom, and that's where we pick it up. Yep. So last on our last reading, Mother Gaia had a question at the end, but she's not here yet. So if she does come, she can ask if an opportunity comes.
Oh, from Tuesday.
Tuesday. So let me share my screen. I prepared it beforehand. So last week it was a bit of an annoying problem. Every time I would scroll, it would take me back about 30 verses. So I think I've solved that today. I hope by Krishna's grace. So let's offer some prayers to Srila Prabhupada before we begin. Nama Om Vishnu Badaya Krishna Bastaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pachaline Nivasesha Sunyavadi Pashtatara Satarine Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sari Gaura Bhaktivinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. Okay, so let's have a look if there's any golden hands there.
Oh, no, nobody yet.
There's no golden hands up.
I can read if you want, but yeah, there you are. You got Labanga.
Okay, okay, Mother Labanga, you can begin with text 154, and you don't have to chant the Sanskrit. I would just chant the read the translation. But if you really want to, you can. It's not against the law.
Okay, thank you. Text 154. I divided the affairs of the kingdom and handed them over to the relatives and entourage of the deceased king. But still I suffered in various ways due to my connections with the kingdom. Commentary. To avoid being blamed for neglecting the kingdom while absorbed in private meditation, Gopal Kumar delegated the practical affairs of ruling to the previous king's friends, ministers, in-laws, and immediate family. He gave them the authority to make day-to-day decisions. Nonetheless, various anxieties connected with the kingdom continued to be thrust upon him, and so a crisis gradually arose. Discriminating Vaishnavas may be better off uninvolved in the management of kingdoms.
Okay, so there's some
Text-
advice there.
Yeah.
You think
Text
twice
one.
before becoming a king or queen or manager.
Text,
Or take up any management.
Yeah.
yeah. Text 155. Sometimes I feared neighboring kingdoms, and at other times the emperor, having to obey his various and abundant commands, stifled my freedom. Commentary. Every king has enemies, including unhappy citizens of his own state, as well as the rulers of rival kingdoms. If he is the vassal of a greater king, he must follow the overlord's whims and cannot act independently. Gopal Kumar felt all those anxieties. Yeah. Text 156. If the Supreme Lord's remnants were touched by an outsider or carried outside the temple, or if for any other reason a doubt arose about the purity of the remnants, no respectable person would eat them. Commentary. Gopal Kumar certainly should have tolerated any trouble arising from serving the Lord, but the serious obstructions that appeared in Gopal Kumar's devotional service provoked him much more than the petty complications of royal politics. The Brahmanas of this region were very strict about the food they accepted. They would not accept Lord Vishnu's prasad if it had been touched by any one other than appointed servants of the deity or taken outside the sacred gate area of the temple. These Brahmanas cited the tradition of cultured behavior as evidence to support their scruples. Their predecessors had never accepted prasad that had in those ways been contaminated. Real Brahmanas and Vaishnavas, however, become unhappy to see such behavior. For them, it is difficult to live in a place where such disrespect of the Supreme Lord's prasad is promoted. Furthermore, their opinion on this matter is supported in scriptures such as Sri Brihad Vishnu Purana. That's Sri Brihad Vishnu Purana. Oh, twice born, one should never question whether remnants of food and drink offered to the Lord of the universe are fit or unfit to eat. One should never make such distinctions. The prasad of the Lord is as incompatible.
Is
The prasad of the
incorruptible.
Lord is as incorruptible as the Vedic mantras and Lord Vishnu himself. Those who consider whether the Lord's prasad is eatable or uneatable will suffer leprosy. They will lose their children and wives, O Brahmana, and go to hell, never to return.
Gulp.
Wow.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah.
So
Text one.
perhaps might be some discussion on this, but so we can perhaps see the situation that Gopal Kumar is in. There's obviously lots of politics, and if anything, if there's any discussion on what's to be done or what not to be done, then there's different parties are coming to him. Yeah, so here there's one scene where the Brahmanas are very strict. You could say, could use the word smarta Brahmanas, that's being described here. And even if the shadow of someone goes on the prasad, we might say that they refuse to accept it, even if the prasadam goes outside of the gate or something it mentioned. So very, very ritualistic. No doubt devotees and pious devotees, but very ritualistic and are very, very much attached to the rules and regulations, which in one sense is good, but here it's being overly attached to the rules and regulations as described in the Nectar of Instruction. It can be a hindrance to one's devotional practice. And then here, this verse from the Brihat Vishnu Purana, and this is how Srila Prabhupada taught us regards prasadam, that it can never be contaminated. And Harisori, those who might know this story, where in the early days, the devotees were quite innocent, very enthusiastic and innocent. And there was a discussion which was ensuing coming from different temples. I forget where exactly, but somewhere in America, it was in the early days, where some devotees were eating all the remnants that was left by those who came for the Sunday feast. under the Lords Prasadam. So they had all types of people coming for the Sunday feast, drug addicts and, all types of unclean people, we might say. So then and some devotees were saying, yes, we should eat it. It's Mahaprasad, it can never be contaminated. And others were saying, no, we should not eat it. So then a debate arose. So then eventually it got to Prabhupada. And if I remember correctly, Prabhupada said, yes, it is a fact that the remnants of the Lord can never be contaminated. But we should see ourselves, just paraphrasing, but we are not so advanced. So therefore we have to be a bit careful. So they stopped eating the remnants of the guests from the Sunday feast. So a case in, there you go. Yes, an example. But any questions on, I missed the story as I couldn't hear. Oh, is that with everyone or just
No,
Kuruma?
Karunamai.
Okay, Kuruma, you're going to have to listen to the recording. Sorry.
So then I was just thinking, then, some ritualistic things. No, how am I going to ask?
Rituals we have in our temple. Every
Yeah,
temple has
yeah.
rituals and we follow them. But it
Yeah,
has to be a balance. They have to be done in balance with.
yeah,
Go on.
yeah. So I was thinking that, sometimes, say, Shraddha ceremony, things like that. So, but says that those who are chanting and who are in Krishna conscious don't have to do it, but yet some do it. Some do things like that. So does it mean that we got to be advanced devotee when we don't do these things, or do we don't do it as we become devotees?
Well, we do Shraddha as devotees, but we don't follow the Shraddha practices, say, of the traditional women, smarta Brahmins, which is very detailed.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Our Shraddha ceremony is given to us by Prabhupada is simply to feed Vaishnavas, yeah,
Yes.
on behalf of the person who's passed away, and they may speak some glories of the devotee who's passed away, and then we serve prasadam. If one is able, and if one is in a situation where one can do that, so we do follow to that degree. And no, we do follow, and there is the Shraddha. But if for some reason or another one is unable to do that, then there's no loss, because there's one verse. I'm just in the process of relearning from the 11th canto, that if one is surrendered to Mukunda, the giver of liberation, then he's not indebted to anyone. The great sages, the people in general, one's forefathers that have passed away, friends, relatives, because they've completely surrendered to the Lord. So therefore, there will be no sin if for some reason they are unable to do any form of Shraddha, or then maybe, say, not inclined. They may be so absorbed in their bhajan, that they may just, someone passes away, then they just do a pranam mantra and say, all the best. Don't go back to God then. They might not. But generally, it's nice to glorify Vaishnavas who pass away. Actually, it's nice, it's ecstatic, and we should do that. We should glorify them before they pass away as well, not just when they pass away. So there will be no sinful reaction or devotee who's unable to follow. And we follow quite simple Shraddha, as I said,
In the slok you said the translation was sincere devotees. What in the slok?
For those who have surrendered to Krishna.
Surrendered. Yeah. So that's the question. So we are not totally surrendered, like advanced devotees. Surrendered, yes, but we sometimes seem to. So what happens to that kind of devotees? We are surrendered to the process.
Well, that in itself, that's a Yeah, well,
sincere
that's a statement
devotees.
that's a statement of a sincere devotee. Someone who is sincere, they will question their sincerity. You know, so that's one way to look at it. Another way to look at it is that you, for example, and devotees have taken Diksha initiation into the Gaudiya Vaishnav line. So you have entered upon the path of Sharanagati.
Hmm.
You know, you have taken vows to chant the holy name of the Lord, and you're following principles. So that in itself means you've given your life over to your spiritual master and to the parampara and to Krishna. So that is Sharanagati, that is surrender. So if you're unable to follow some of the rituals which may be there for one reason or another, we should have faith that Krishna will protect us from any sinful reactions, you know. Because there's so many demands, depends, especially if you're coming from a Indian background, maybe so many demands. I think we spoke of this before, coming from different family members, but you may not be not inclined at all to go to a 5-day marriage. You know, a marriage or week marriage or something like that. So the Lord's our protector, you know, the Lord is our protector. We should have faith in that. But here, I just hear in this point here that sometimes we, or devotees, become a little bit too fussy about Mahaprashadam. So good to keep in mind, we should be careful. You know, some devotees, when it comes to the Mahaprasad, they want some of this, they don't want some of that. I mean, that's okay, but we should be careful that we're not becoming too discriminating.
Wow.
Yeah.
That could be. That is
Otherwise, we will get leprosy.
really. Yeah.
We get leprosy. There's another story just came to mind. This was in Prabhupada Memories. And one, I forget her name, but one Mataji, one lady, she explained how I guess right then Prabhupada would leave there was Prabhupada and he would take his prasadam, and the devotees would be really after the prasadam. But she was a bit disappointed because when she was serving Prabhupada's Mahaprasadam, the devotees were quite choosy. Oh, I don't want this. No, what about that? No, what about this? No, 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 no. Even you could say a empty orange peel, which would have had lots of Prabhupada saliva and lots of mercy. Nah, I don't want that. Give me the leftover curd, sabji. So she was a bit disappointed in that. So to make the point, I forget the connection she made here, but what the devotee did is the devotee just to see and show devotees that she mushed up all the Mahaprasad into a big ball. So he couldn't discriminate anything. And then she took it and no one would take it.
Oh, really?
No devotees, because it didn't look very nice. It didn't look very palatable. It was all mushed up. And then they realized, and then it came and then they realized their mistake. I don't forget the end of it, how they realized or they came to, see what they was doing was wrong. But there's an example where, even the remnants of a pure devotee such as Srila Prabhupada. So perhaps they weren't in knowledge of the philosophy or the potency of Mahaprashadam. Mahaprashada Govinde Nama Brahmani Vaishnavi Swapatanda Vadambajan Vishakshona Jayate. Yeah, so keep it in mind next time the Mahaprasad is coming past.
I would have real problems.
Yeah. You can just take if there's something which may not be, may a bit, for instance, maybe you're not trying to avoid too much sweet, you can take a little. And what you can do, if you're unable to take Mahaprashadam for one reason or another, you can put your hands to your head and pay obeisances to the Mahaprasad. You pay obeisances to the Mahaprasad. If for some reason, due to some sickness or something, you're unable to take Mahaprasad, you should offer your respects to it. Very sacred. I think Vamsi Vaparu put up some quote the other day, wasn't it, on one of the Pujari WhatsApps about Mahabhushad. And I've put a quote, I don't know if it's still there, from Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur.
Oh yes, by the
about
same.
Mahabhushad. Yeah.
that
So anyway,
boat.
any other questions about this? So he's becoming a bit Gopal here.
You know, I was going to figure out, you know, these Brahmanas about the Prasad. Then we have the same story in Krishna book, the Yajnik Brahmanas, you know, following ritualistics.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's a very good example.
When you could go back home and they were just too busy.
Yeah, that's a nice example. They very much didn't want to disturb their recitation of mantras. And actually, I think I mentioned before that sastrically speaking, from one level of sastra, they was doing the correct thing, because once you start mantras, it's an offense to stop them. Vedic mantras, not the Maha Mantra. There's no hard and fast rules, but Vedic mantras, you can't rock your head forward or backwards. You can't do this. You can't do that. You have to be a Brahmin. You have to do all types of rituals before you chant the mantras, and no one can walk directly in front of where the mantras are being chanted. And it's an offense. For instance, if you chant the Purusha Sukta, if you chant the first verse and the first two verses and don't complete the whole Purusha Sukta, 18 verses, it's in some places it's considered an offense. So, without going too much into that story, thank you for bringing that up, Mother Chandravali. But higher than that is loving service to Krishna himself. Yeah, that overrides everything.
Prabhu, can I ask you something?
Yes, please.
You know, when it was
Yes.
COVID, all this rubbish, this thing, yeah, I started chanting Narasimha Kavacha. It's very, very long, yeah, every day for 3 times, even more with Gaia, with all family, yeah. So, yeah, for 2 years, for 2.5 years, every day, for 2.5 years, every day. So, but eventually I stopped. Is it a crime?
No, it's not. You didn't make any particular vows to a spiritual master, or you just, you like to chant it. You like to chant it for some time. No, that's it's not an offense. It's not like it's not like if you start chanting a mantra or specific shukta, you have to chant it for the rest of your life.
Yeah, Vara Vishnu Sukta and others but you don't promise to guru. But if you just learning like chanting by on YouTube, listening somebody, it means you can't stop them.
No, I'm speaking about mantras which are chanted during specific ritual.
Okay.
Specific ritual, like Chandravali is speaking about these Brahmanas who are doing yagna. So they're doing a specific ritual which has very many rules and regulations. So actually, the Brahmins just ignored the cowherd boys because they weren't allowed to speak. They was chanting mantras. Anyway, that's a wonderful lesson. I thought of another example as well. Yeah, another example is Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. After he was converted by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to him in the early morning, in the day, and with some Mahaprasad. And this was before he had done his rituals. He was still in bed. So before he had done any, rituals of cleanliness, because smarta Brahmanas, when they take bath, there's a whole lot of rituals that actually go with it. I think I mentioned one time also, I happened to watch a 2-hour video a few years ago of a Brahmana taking bath and doing his rituals. 2 hours. That was for a festival day. So Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, in his newfound spontaneous loving affection for Lord Chaitanya, he found himself taking the Mahaprasad even before he'd done any prayers or any rituals, and he's never done that in his life. So that's another example of another example of Mahabharata and passing the test he did. Shalboma Bhattacharya.
Yeah, I learned from that story that anytime anybody offers you Mahabharata, like you said, if you can't have it, respect it with your two hands, head down, you know.
Yeah.
Respect it. So from that story, I learned it. And then I was going to share, you know, Jambavati was saying about this chanting. I had the same thing. Early days when my husband was really, really ill, Rishikesh was so ill. And every time he was going in and out of hospital. So one of our god sister had given me picture of Lord Nrsimhadev from Mayapur. So I had it on that picture on the altar. Instead of like having what everybody else Nrsimhadev picture, I had the deity picture on the altar. So then I was like offering and things like that. And every time Rishikesh was ill, I was so worried. Oh, this is because I'm committing offense to Lord Nrsimhadev. That's why he's becoming so ill and falling this and that. Yeah, it was really worrying me. It was really worrying. So when Bhakti Chiru Maharaj came once to my place and I asked him.
Yeah, what did he say? Interesting.
He said, no. Krishna is not like that, you know. But I was really, this is going back early days, you know, when I first joined Krishna consciousness. So yes, because of Nrsimhadev, he's Ugra Nrsimhadev, and he's on my altar, and you know, now he's still there on the altar anyway.
Yeah, there's this a
But
bit
it's
of
worrying. Yes.
yeah.
When it comes to Nrsimhadev, you know. But he assured me, no, there's no worry about his Nrsimhadev, you know.
Yeah, what's that? We read just recently, Bhavagrahi Janardanaha.
Oh yes.
Krishna accepts the essence of a devotee's, or accepts the inner essence of a devotee's devotional acts, even if externally they may not be to the mark. Krishna sees within the heart the actual devotion of these, or the devotion and the sincerity of a devotee, and that's what he accepts. Bhava Grahi Janardana.
Yes.
All right. Should we read on a little bit more? Perhaps Mother Lawang, you'd like to read one more verse, and then we can call on Roger Kishore to read. Can read
Yeah.
11.
Oh, 1 second. Gaia is there. Gaia, did you want to ask that question? Sorry, am I disturbing?
Okay. Chandravali is called upon you, Mother Gaia. If you remember the question. If not, is she there?
No, I think she's not here because David, she
Okay.
has concert. She's in big opera concert.
Okay, no problem. So you can read.
I'm here, but I can't read. It's too noisy with all the kids here.
Not reading, Gaia, you wanted to ask a question on Tuesday, and you said you'll ask that question first thing before.
Oh, yes. I'll just go to the corridor. My question was, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Can Swarup be changed? Because technically, well, for example, you were a tree in the spiritual world, somehow you fell down, and now you're developing a relationship like, say, a gopi, for example. Is that possible? Or will you later find out you were a tree and you'll be completely satisfied with your Swarup? Or can it be changed? I read somewhere it's possible to change it by mercy of Mahaprabhu. Is that true? Thank you.
Well, yeah. Well, when it comes to the spiritual realm, if we hadn't understood by now, anything can happen. Anything can happen. But as far as I recall, in Sudha Bhakti Chintamani, His Holiness Srila Shiram Sai Maharaj explains that, yes, exactly that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he quotes from one other sastra, which is about Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, forget the name of it. But he says, even those of you who worship me in Vaikuntha, or those who worship, I shall make you one of my followers in Braj, in the mood of Madhurya Ras. So exactly as you said, Mother Gaia, by the grace, according to the Charyas, as far as I've understood and read, yes, it can. But that brings up a whole discussion which is about Sarup and its eternal nature. But just that fact that anything is possible within that realm which is not another which is not in any way bound by the laws of material nature. So yes, in essence to the question, it can be.
Thank you, Guru.
Yeah,
Because I thought how it's that it's just confusing because now I couldn't imagine being a plant though, for example. Like it's just, or how could a plant even fall down? Well, I know they're all equally conscious, but it's just my brain can't wrap around it. If that makes sense.
What I do is, if I remember, probably after this, I try and pull out. Oh, I don't have Sudha Bhakti Chintamani with me, but I try and pull out that quote. I might have it online. The quote where that verse speaks about Lord Chaitanya's munificence in giving Raj Bhakti to anyone and everyone, even those who have relationships with him in another mood. I'll try and dig that out. All right. Okay. Thank you for that question.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you.
157, Mother Lavanga Latika, you can just...
Yeah. Thanks. Such darts shot into my vital points made me want to give everything up, but I had no desire to leave the Lord, whom I had long hankered to see, and whose personal contact I had now obtained. Commentary. To see the leaders of society refusing Vishnu's prasad was more painful to Gopal Kumar than the wounds of well-aimed arrows. One who is caught at a major juncture of the subtle channels carrying prana feels excruciating pain, but the pain of having to watch and tolerate aparad in the service of Lord Vishnu was more painful for Gopal Kumar than such a wound. He lost whatever enthusiasm he had for continuing his involvement with ruling the kingdom, but he could not leave Lord Vishnu.
Okay, thank you. So he's had enough. he's seen enough. And now he's become, but he's feeling responsible. He is being made king, so he cannot just leave. But let's see what happens next. So, Mother Raj Kishore, you'd like to pick it up from text 158?
Yes, Hare Krishna.
Hare
Just
Krishna.
then, some venerable saints from the south arrived on pilgrimage and told me this commentary. The saintly pilgrims were Vaishnavas from Jagannath Puri. For a while, they had left the holy dham to see Lord Vishnu's deities and devotees elsewhere, mostly in the various tirtha. Okay. Text 159. At Purusottama Ketra, on the Blue Mountain, on the shore of the salt ocean, Jagannath, the Lord of the universe, the personality of Godhead, is present as an absolute truth manifest in wood. Commentary. Within the holy dham called Purushottam, on the shore of the salt ocean is a district called Nilachal, and there the Supreme Personality of Godhead is present as Lord Jagannath. He is called Daru Brahma because he is the absolute truth in wood, Daru, and because he destroys Dharanath, the miseries of material existence. He is described in a number of Purans. For example, in the Padma Purana, at Sri Purushottam on the northern shore of the ocean resides the supreme absolute truth, full of perfect ecstasy. He has assumed the transcendental body that appears wooden. And in the Brihad Vishnu Purana, in the land of Orrisa, on the Blue Mountain, at Sri Purusottama Ketra, the ecstatic and all spiritual Lord is present in wood in his form known as Jagannath. Text 160. With indefinite opulence that the Lord himself rules the kingdom of Utkal, he displays his unique glories and always takes affectionate care of his devotees. Commentary. Utkal is another name for Orrisa. Lord Jagannath himself rules this kingdom by issuing various commands and guidelines for the citizens' conduct of business and personal affairs. as a Tattva Yamala states. In the Utkal kingdom in Bharatvarsha lies a earthly heaven of Purushottam. There Lord Jagannath appears in a wooden form, taking up human-like activities. He bestows fearlessness on his devotees. He is the only giver of liberation. Lord Jagannath displays his own glories, such as his kind compassion on unfortunate souls, especially affectionate to his servants. He never takes their offenses seriously.
Yeah, just before I read the next verse. Can you hear me okay still, everyone?
Yes, I
Okay,
can.
good. So I just put my headphones in. So there's a particular reason why, I guess by the arrangement of the Lord, that he's being told about Jagannath. And that comes up in the next verse, is because Jagannath, then the main devotional activity in Jagannath Puri is what? Eating Mahaprasadam. Yeah. And everyone eats it. There isn't any, there's smarter regulations as far as Jagannath Mahaprasad. It's honored by everyone with great respect. You could say now even. That's very much the case. I haven't been to Jagannath Puri for many years, but we were staying there, and we were staying in this house of this resident of Puri. He had some guest houses, and anyway, he was very kind. He would bring us Mahaprasadam, and he would watch us eat it out of devotion. He would love watching Westerners eat Jagannath Mahaprasadam. And he told us little rules and regulations that we shouldn't sit on asan when you eat Jagannath Mahaprasad, and you should always sit down. As soon as you get it, you should sit on the floor and eat Jagannath Mahaprasadam. And he would, in great happiness, he would watch us eat Mahaprasadam. Anyway, so that's why I'm guessing they're bringing up now about Jagannath Puri is being mentioned. Yeah, you can continue, Maharaj Kishore. Any question?
We were there for a week, weren't we, Karunamai? And we had to sit on the floor. No, what's it called?
No asan.
No asan, yeah.
They also said that you should eat it off the floor, but we had banana leaves.
Really?
Didn't they? They said you can eat it off the floor.
Oh, you were.
But we were having Mahaprasad breakfast, lunch, evening as well, 3 times a day for a week.
Nice.
And they were coming and they were serving us.
Yeah, even if the prasad's been eaten by a dog, then they will still eat it.
Yeah.
And when you go to rinse your mouth, the first lot of water you swish around your mouth, you swallow that one, and then you only spit out after that.
Yeah, that I've come across just recently. Actually, one devotee was asking me about that, but I guess it's coming from Jagannath Puri. Then that's the rule they have there.
Yeah,
because there's still some remnants of the food in your mouth. You don't want to spit it out down the drain. Yeah, interesting. So we get Jagannath Mahaprasad every day. We offer.
Yes, we do.
Yeah. Okay, you can continue reading Maharaj Kishore.
Okay, text 161. After eating food cooked for him by his consort Lakshmi, the all-merciful Lord distributes to his devotees his own remnants, which are available in Nilachal, even though by demigods they are rarely obtained. Commentary. The remnant form the plate of Lord Vishnu are extremely difficult to obtain. But in Nilachal, after the goddess Lakshmi personally cooks for Lord Jagannath, the Lord eats each preparation and then freely distributes his remnants to his devotees. Being all merciful, Lord Jagannath sees to it himself that all his devotees obtain his prasad. When everything cooked for the Lord is offered before him in many clay pots, sometimes he eats only a little of each preparation, and sometimes he eats everything and then miraculously refills the pots. Text 162. That food is called his Mahaprasad. Be it touched by anyone or brought anywhere, without discriminating, the devotees eat it. Commentary: the Mahaprasad of Lord Jagannath is unique. Because it has been touched by his nectarian lips, it can never be contaminated, even if touched by an unseeable or an untouchable person, or carried to an unclean place. No decent person ever refuses to eat Lord Jagannath's Mahaprasad, or complains that it might not be pure, or that the time is improper to accept it. It is said, the food that Lakshmi cooks and Lord Purushottam eats should be accepted without consideration of its being touched or untouched by anyone. It is as pure as Lord Vishnu himself. The Skanda Purana, Vaishnava Khanda, adds, even if Lord Jagannath's Prasad has completely dried up from sitting for a long time, or has been carried to a far distant place, if eaten in the proper spirit, it will surely drive away all one's sins. According to Bhavishya Purana, even if the food eaten by the Lord of the universe has been touched by outcasts, by those with no caste, or by those born in mixed caste, still it has the power to destroy all sins. In the words of the Tattva Yamala, O best of the king, one should never be concerned whether someone has touched Lord Jagannath's Prasad. If persons unfit to take part in the Vedic sacrifices simply touch this Prasad, they become completely sanctified. And according to the Garud Purana, O Brahmana, there are no restriction about when to accept this Prasad, as there are in the observance of vows like Chandrayana. Whenever one receives Lord Jagannath's Prasad, one should eat it at once if he wants to attain liberation of soul. Text 163.
Just one point in there. I have an experience. I'm blessed to serve Lord Balaram on Rath Yatra. You know, if there's free carts. I've been doing it for quite a few years. And it's the experience I have. It's interesting because when it comes to giving out the Mahaprasad from the cart, you can see sometimes, you know, we hand the Maha down and some of it inevitably drops on the floor. And many people won't pick it up and take it because it dropped on the floor. But according to what we're reading today, then it could say that might be a misunderstanding, could we say, or to put it more strongly, an offense to Mahaprasad. And when we're giving out Mahaprasad, then when we're giving out things like bananas or apples, people complain and they want mangoes. Give me a mango. I want a mango. I know this is Mahaprasad. Here's an apple. No, I want mango. You know, so this is not the correct mood for when it comes to especially Jagannath's Mahaprasad. You say, especially when on Rath Yatra, you should be happy to obtain anything, whether it's a mango or a piece of dried rice, whatever it is. You should be very, very grateful and very, very respectful. Yeah, it's yeah, interesting. Yeah, I have to go. Yeah, and I don't know. Some of you might have that. They give out these little dried rice you can buy, isn't it? And take it back with you.
Yeah, I was going to ask you
in a
about
cloth.
that. That was going to be my question.
Yeah, you can take that on breaking this. It's considered on Ekadashi, the day after when you break your fast. The best way to break it is by taking Mahaprasad grains. So if you have something like that, even if it's dried, you can just pop one grain of rice in your mouth, and it's glorious. Even if it's
I
like
got from Jagannath Puri, I got little bags, dried
Yeah.
rice.
Yeah, little cloth bag.
that's
Yeah,
it. Yeah.
little bags. I put it in a pot. So after
I have some. I've had it for about 10 years. I take a small little grain now every breaking fast.
Yeah,
haven't
that's it.
seen,
And
yes.
that's
Little tiny grain.
that's
So
the
now I
correct way
understand how
to
important
honor
it is.
Mahabhashat. That's very good. So you had it 10 years, but still it's Mahabhashat,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, it's really ancient. This bag I have is so ancient. It sat there for a while and I never used it. And then I saw it one day and I started using it. Like I must have had it like 8 years at the time. And I thought it's still okay. It's just dried rice.
Yeah. I call it ancient grains. You know, they have this thing now, ancient grains. You can buy ancient grains. You know?
Yeah.
So
I had it
ancient
before, but I
Mahabhashat.
just bought it just this time we went, I got it, 10 rupees, little bags, 10 rupees.
I didn't know where to get it from.
You know, I'm
Oh.
sure you can get some
I
from
use our
Chandravali or
Jagannath rice. Our Jagannath rice, I've just, you know what we cook, the plain rice. I just dry it and we have that.
nice, great, yeah.
And also, Ekadashi is locked in Jagannath Puri. Remember, we went to see Ekadashi there, and the front door was open. But behind that front door, there's another door, and there was a lock on it.
All right.
Oh, really? So you couldn't take darshan? You couldn't enter a specific part of the temple?
Because they don't follow Ekadashi.
She's outside. She has her own temple outside. In the
Right,
temple, it's in the temple grounds, but how can you explain this?
No, she's just
I'm lost already.
outside. Vimala Devi is there.
Yeah.
Vimala Devi, the Lakshmi
Patita
Devi,
Pavana.
and the temple is just next to it.
Okay.
Ekadashi temple, and from there they gave us little bags of rice. Remember?
Is that where you got the rice?
Yes.
Oh, gosh. Okay. I'll have to remember that in June.
Okay.
Okay.
So some
Maliprabhu,
nice,
you sound like you don't. We can't hear you unless you come.
Hare Krishna, can you hear me now?
Now we can hear you, yeah. But when you go back, then we can't.
Okay, I'll have to learn. Okay, Hare Krishna. Okay, so perhaps let's see how long. You have 10 minutes left. Perhaps we'll call on Mother Mai. You'd like to read from text 163, unless I'm mistaken.
Thank you. Oh, that holy Kshetra, it is so great that even the donkeys living there have 4 arms. Anyone who simply enters that district will never take birth again. Commentary. Some may doubt the claim that Lord Jagannath's Prasad is so special. Those doubters should be informed that Lord Jagannath's abode is even more special. Even lowly animals like donkeys who live there are 4-armed, for they have automatically achieved the perfection of Sarup, having bodily features just like the Lord's. That is stated by Lord Brahma in the Brahma Purana. Just see how great in this holy abode the demigods in heaven see that in this Kshetra for 10 yojanas on all sides, everyone has 4 arms. Sri Vedavyas says in the Garud Puran, everyone living there appears with hands holding a conch shell, disc, and lotus. The demigods in heaven are constantly bewildered to see this. And Sri Narad says in the Bhavraj Vashista, all resistance there are seen to have 4 arms. Furthermore, simply by setting foot in the Purusottama Ketra, any living being coming from anywhere is freed from having to take another birth. This is confirmed by Vedvyas in the same Bhaujura Vashista. This holy Kshetra, where the Supreme Truth is present in his pastime of having a wooden form, bestows liberation upon all men who simply touch it, even if someone has been dedicated to sinful behavior for many hundreds of lives. by merely coming into contact with his Kshatriya, he will take birth in the company of Lord Vishnu. Text 164. A mere glimpse of him whose eyes are like lotuses in full bloom grants the ultimate goal of life. Such wonders I heard, which I had never heard before. Commentary. The personality of Godhead may be visible elsewhere in other deity forms, as indeed he is on the shore of the Ganga in the kingdom where Gopal Kumar was now living. But the beauty of Lord Jagannatha is unique. So exquisitely charming is his beauty that by seeing him merely once, one feels relief from all miseries. That a glimpse of Lord Jagannath is enough to perfect one's life is stated by Sri Narad in his talks with Sri Prahlad in the Padma Purana. Okay. The glories of the Lord, which are partly perceived by methods like hearing, are openly visible on the peaks of the Blue Mountain. Any human being who sees the Supreme Being will go to the abode of Vishnu. What to speak of the great soul like you? As Gopal Kumar heard from his visitors these glories of Purusottama Ketra and more, wonder arose in his heart because he had never before heard anything like them. Although the form of the Lord that Gopal Kumar was worshipping was the same personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Jagannath is the origin of all such incarnations of the Lord. From seeing the source of all incarnations, especially at such an exceptional place as Purusottama Ketra, one can gain greater benefit than from a mere incarnation. Gopal Kumar had not heard such facts about the Lord in all the days he had been worshipping Lord Vishnu on the shore of the Ganga, nor had he developed firm attachment to worshipping the Lord's deity. That this was the combined influence of his divine spiritual master and the divine personality of Godhead will be explained more clearly later in the narration. We shall see how Gopal Kumar's guru and Gopal Kumar's worshipable Lord continually exert their influence on his step-by-step spiritual progress.
Yeah, excuse me a minute. I've lost where you was reading from. Are we on the right page?
166.
166.
No, 164.
165.
We just finished 164.
Okay, okay. You can continue, Mother. Sorry, I just want to make sure I was on the right page so you could see.
Okay, 165. Overcome by desire to see Lord Jagannath, in a moment I abandoned everything and set off in the direction of Orrisa, chanting Lord Jagannath's glories. Commentary. Gopal Kumar was so inspired by the glories of Lord Jagannath and the Lord's Kshetra that he gave up all external and internal affinity to the kingdom and everything related to it. He at once began his journey to Jagannath Puri, heading off in the general direction of Orrisa. While on the road, he constantly chanted the 4 syllables of Lord Jagannath's name.
Yeah, so this is interesting. Before it was described that out of duty, he felt a sense of duty that despite being, could say, horrified and disgusted with the wrong attitude of these Brahmanas towards the Lord's Mahaprasadam. But now he's just hearing the glories of Purusottama Ketra, and that's it. He just walked out. He just walked away in spontaneous attraction. Now he's heading towards Jagannath Puri. So yeah.
I was looking at this sentence. We shall see how Gopal Kumar's guru and Gopal Kumar's worshipable Lord continuously exert their influence on his step-by-step spiritual progress. That's really good. This is how we make progress as well, Guru and Krishna.
Yeah, that's the idea. It's good it's a really interesting point that you brought that up, because with Gopal Kumar, he's going through many different, you could say, situations, different life is putting him in very different atmospheres, different environments, different situations. But his constant theme or meditation is his Gopal mantra.
Mm, mm.
So despite the very different situations he is in, he's being nourished by that mantra.
Yeah.
And it described here, and so in the same way, you know, as we go through, if we continue chanting our mantra, and we should be as attached to the Maha mantra as Gopal Kumar is attached to the Gopal mantra. Yeah. So where were you reading from? That was you reading from text 164.
Yeah.
165.
No.
Oh no, yeah.
Chandravalli is just
164.
quoting from. Yeah.
But yeah, the last sentence of I was realizing how his consciousness is changing. You know, as we were reading, I was realizing his consciousness changing because he's chanting like we would. Maha mantra is given by our guru to us, and Krishna, how he's changing his consciousness. He's going toward Jagannath, meditating on Jagannath. It's like that. How he's making progress. You know.
Yeah, it's very interesting to see as well is that we could say that in our spiritual progress, there's many different distractions that can come, or many different temptations that may come to us.
Yeah.
So the same has happened with Gopal Kumar, but because of the taste he's getting from his mantra, he is not becoming distracted. He's not stopping off. And as we know, the story unfolds that he doesn't, the only place he stops is when he actually goes back and meets Krishna. And that's the only place. Everywhere else, he doesn't feel satisfied. So you can look at this Brihat Bhagavatamrita from many different angles in that regard.
Yeah.
He's a journey in one sense. He's also our journey because he's been given a mantra and we've been given a mantra as well. We've been given a very sacred mantra, which is the Maha mantra. And all the truths of spiritual existence can be and will be revealed through the chanting of that mantra.
Yeah,
if we
I was
follow
just
the
thinking
science.
how we brought up everything about Mahaprasad, how by taking Mahaprasad, he's making progress, you know.
Yeah, eating your way back to Godhead.
Yeah, it's really like how it's all come
Mahaprasad.
up, you know.
But especially if the of course any consciousness or whoever takes Mahaprasad is blessed, but especially if you have a devotional attitude and a respectful attitude towards Mahaprasadam, then you get double blessed. The Lord's very pleased. Right, let's again, it's just 7 o'clock then. Let's put a bookmark there. Sorry?
Are you going to be around Monday or?
Yeah, I did. I only couldn't do yesterday because I was traveling up. I was traveling up here to Scotland, and at 6 o'clock I was at Motherwell Station waiting for a train.
Oh dear.
So yeah, that was the only reason. So it should be fine. If it's not for some reason, I can let you know. But yeah, all is clear from my side. Okay.
Okay.
Right. So thank you everyone again for joining us.
Prabhu, I just
giving
want
us-
to ask you, please,
Please,
can you
yes.
spare 1 minute for me? I'm so sorry about those mantras. back
1
to front.
second. Shall I just stop the recording?
Yes, please.
Oh,
Yes.
is it on this point? 1 second. How do I stop?